The social issue that we chose to focus on from the Boston 2030 plan is sustaining and cultivating trust between immigrant communities and the police in Boston. We chose this topic as it is a very relevant issue across the entire world. In a country where immigrants are often being blamed for the economic issues of the United States and criminalized in the media, it is important that there is trust between the police and not only the immigrant population, but whatever population the police are serving in order for them to effectively protect these communities. If there is no trust, then immigrants will not want to report crimes because they are scared of getting deported, raising crime rates in communities that they live in. Boston has actually made great steps towards this goal of maintaining trust, but that does not mean that their work is done. This must be a constant goal, as attitudes towards immigrants across the world are constantly changing. Before we can get into the core of the issue, there are certain terms that must be defined. I will briefly define three important terms: foreign-born population, community policing, and racial profiling, in order to maximize your understanding of the issue. Defined by the Boston Planning and Development Agency, the foreign-born population includes all people who are born outside the U.S., naturalized citizens, and non-U.S. citizens. Community policing, explained by Ralph H. Saunders from the University of Southern California, includes a couple different things. The basic assumptions of community policing are that 1. Communities can be mobilized to take an active role in crime prevention, and 2. Police and neighborhood residents can deter crime by attending the environmental signals of neighborhood decline. In addition, community policing advocates believe that the combination of resident-staffed crime watches and a better-equipped, high-tech police force can give police the advantage in the war on crime, Saunders explains. Finally, racial profiling is defined by Janet Chan from the University of New South Wales as the practice of subjecting citizens to increased surveillance or scrutiny based on racial or ethnic factors rather than reasonable suspicion. Boston has one of the largest foreign-born populations in the U.S., so this issue is very relevant when we look at Boston. In fact, in 2016, nearly 250,000 undocumented immigrants lived in Boston, which is a large chunk of the U.S.'s immigrant population, especially for one city. As of 2017, about 1 in 7 Massachusetts residents are immigrants, and 1 in 7 were born in the U.S. or have one or more immigrant parents. There isn't just one thing that has caused this issue, though, and we have several data points to prove it. According to a study done by Harvard researcher Ryan Enos in 2014, Boston commuters who were exposed to Spanish speakers on public transportation were far more likely to advocate for a reduction in immigration from Mexico and were far less likely to indicate that illegal immigrants should be allowed to remain in this country. This highlights the effect of xenophobia on the common Bostonian. Just being exposed to someone different than them causes people to be afraid, and police are no exception to this rule. While xenophobia is a very large part in causing this issue, the issue also lies largely in the police themselves. According to our research, in 2013, officers that are in a minority ethnic group only made up 34.5% of the Boston Police Department. Because a large majority of those who target immigrants are Caucasian, the lack of minority representatives in the BPD, Boston Police Department, make it more difficult for the foreign-born population to trust the police. Incarceration rates may also jeopardize immigrants' trust. In 2018, the incarceration rate in the United States was 698 per 100,000 of the population, while in Massachusetts, the incarceration rate was 324 per 100,000 of the population. It seems like Massachusetts is more trustworthy than the U.S. as a whole when first glancing at the statistic. But because Massachusetts is so small in size, 324 is actually a large number in the big picture. And because immigrants are afraid of being arrested, charged, and deported, this number does not foster their trust of the police, which strains the relationship. Not to mention that the precincts tend to be more common in areas with a higher immigrant density. This could indicate racial profiling, and because of that, it's hard for immigrants to trust the police, aren't looking for them to do something wrong so they can arrest and deport them. While this issue is still very prevalent, Boston has made great efforts to improve trust between immigrants and the police. In fact, according to ICE reports, administrative arrests of immigrants have gone down in Boston from 2,908 in 2018 to 2,469 in 2019. The issue has most definitely improved, but it still has a long way to go. Boston is still pushing to solve as much of this issue as they are capable of. Proof of this lies in the BPD's current mission statement, which says, "Through community policing, we want to be a reflection of the residents we serve. We aim to create a professional culture and inclusive environment that mirrors the best of all of us." The City of Boston and the BPD are not ignorant to the fact that a large number of the people they're serving are immigrants, and so they are making conscious efforts to reflect the population they serve and be unbiased and inclusive. These efforts do not go unseen, and Boston is certainly on the right track to fixing this issue, but they still have a long way to go.